Antoine with another episode of Out and Up, where we encourage young athletes to achieve their very best outside of the game. And y'all know, like every show, we're blessed to have another awesome guest. Y'all know how I do. I'm going to go ahead and let her introduce herself.
Hi, everyone. My name is Ameenah, and I'm a pitcher at the University of Maryland, Eastern Shore.
Thank you, Ameenah, for joining us. You ready to get into the questions?
Yep, I'm ready.
First question. Where are you originally from, born and raised?
I'm from Pennsylvania, Delaware County, Pennsylvania. I've lived there most of my life. I know moved around a lot, but that's where I'm mainly from. I did high school, all that through there. So yeah, I claim Pennsylvania.
All right. So because you moved around, is there a specific area that you spend a lot of time in?
I spend most of my time in Delaware County. It's like 30 minutes right outside Philadelphia. It's not small, but it is a small area, but that's where I spend most of my time. When I was younger, like elementary school, I lived in Florida, and I used to go back and forth because my mom worked at the airport, so we got the free plane tickets. So I went back and forth, but I started softball and everything here in PA, and yeah, that's where I really grew up.
Okay, all right. And I've been able this year to kind of spend a little time in the PA area. I have a son that plays. Those watch the show probably like, wow, we hear about the son like every other show. But I'm proud of my son. He's a senior at Albright in Reading. Mm-hmm. He's a senior at Albright, and I actually got to go to a road game that he played against. Is it Widener in Chester, PA, mm-hmm. which I think is not too far outside of Philly.
That's close to me.
Okay, all right. So let's get into the questions. When did you start playing softball?
I started playing softball late. I started playing softball when I was like 10. My dad was like, I'm sick of you sitting in the house all the time. Like, we're going to go find a sport to play. And it was spring at the time he said that. And I had brought home a flyer from my elementary school. And I was like, look, Dad, let me just play softball. I know nothing much about it. I know baseball, but I'm like, might as well, try something else. And that's where I really started.
All right. And were there any other sports throughout your youth that you dibble and dabbled in?
I tried basketball. I'm not the best. Over time, I used basketball more to condition myself for softball, but I've only really tried basketball. I'm still not much of a runner. So, soccer wasn't my thing. I wasn't running track, but I was interested in basketball. So I tried basketball. I was okay.
Okay. So at what stage, you say you started around the age of 10, but at what stage did you start feeling like, you know what, I can maybe play this on some high levels? At what point did you start to feel like you were really seeing the improvements in yourself?
I think I really started seeing improvements when I was around 13, 14. Everyone around me, like, you start off, everyone's at the same level, and then slowly I pick up things fast. So, I picked up the sport fast, and everyone around me just, I was playing on rec team. So it was more for like, they were playing for fun, and I was a big competitor regardless. So I was getting into it and everything. But when I turned 13, 14, one of my dad's friends, he was like, why doesn't Ameenah play, travel ball? Why is she playing rec? She needs to play somewhere else. She needs better competition, all that stuff. So I tried out for a team, PA Rage, I think it was at the time. And I tried out, and then the coach came up to me. He's like, just so you know, you don't have to come back. You made the team. And I really was like, okay, like, I think I'm good at this. Like, okay. Then the team it like disbanded. It didn't become a thing. So then my dad's friend again was like, just tell her to come play with my daughter, we'll play. And from then on, I was like, oh, this is what I love to do. And I started taking it serious.
That's awesome. What positions have you played from then to even what you play currently? What positions have you played?
So I started off, I believe, at third. I was an infielder, and then my dad was always my coach, my younger years. So I started off in the infield. Then he was like, well, we're having trouble having people catch the ball, so go play first. I was like, okay. Then he said, our catcher's not catching our pitchers, go catch. I was like, okay. Our pitching is not, go pitch. I'm like, okay. So I've really played everywhere, and travel ball, I've really started playing outfield, but like here in UMES, they have me as a pitcher utility. She'll put me anywhere, wherever I'm really wherever you need me to go.
Okay. All right. Which position do you like the best in softball?
I like pitching. I like to control the game, all that stuff. I like having that challenge, that weight on my shoulders, that I'm the one delivering, the pitch to this hitter. And I don't know. It's something about being in control and having the most pressure on me. I don't know. It makes me feel like it makes me feel like that's where I can really be my best, because I feel like that's where the most pressure is, the person who has the ball, after every batter. So that's where I really feel like I can become the best player I can be personally. And yeah.
All right. All right. So you talked about it earlier. In the few months, I've had a handful of baseball players on over the last 3 seasons. With the young softball player, how important is it for them to involve themselves in traveling ball versus just playing rec ball if they want to play on a high level? How important is
It is super important, because that's where like you get those coaches that will actually reach out to college coaches for you. That's where you get most of your networking from, whether it's you playing in all these tournaments all over the place or things like that nature. Because I feel like at the rec level, it's more I just want my kids to have fun, kind of thing. I just want them to do something else. But once you play travel ball and you get to that competitive level, you really see how good you are. You see what everyone else is doing around you. And then that's where most college coaches hang out. So if that's what you really want to do, you want to make it to that next level, you need to go where they are, and that's where they are. So it is really important.
That's good. That's good. So what was it that was like the hardest thing, and even in your youth, in learning how to do? I know it's with baseball and softball, you have the hitting aspect, you have the catching aspect, and then you have the batting aspect. Like, what was the last thing or the hardest thing for you to pick up or to get better at in your years?
Personally, it wasn't really any of those. It was really
Okay.
just the mental aspect of it, because I was such a hard competitor. Those mistakes I did make in any 3 of those things, you just mentioned, I took it personally. I ate at myself, and when I did that, it brought everything else down. So it was more of me tackling like, this is not the end of the world. You have another play, the ball will find you again. And that's what I think is the hardest. I mean, even at this level.
All right. So you're in college now, but let's go back a little bit. If you
Mhm.
can kind of remember middle school into high school, what was that transition like? If you can remember, was it a hard transition going from that middle school to high school? And then even you can go on and talk about from high school to now being early in the college, on the
Okay.
college stage.
So, academic wise, school never came hard to me. So the middle school to high school transition, like I said, academic wise, it wasn't challenging for me. Softball wise, I played softball at Penwood High School. It's in Delaware County, the Lansdowne area, but that my school was a predominantly Black school. They didn't take softball seriously. So the girls who tried out didn't know much about the sport besides me and a few other girls. And so the transition from middle school to high school was a lot harder, because in middle school, our opponents weren't we were all in the same, skill set with length, however you want to put it, a ladder or however. But as we got to high school, those girls in those other high schools, they're the ones playing travel ball. They're high school coaches taking softball seriously, compared to my high school coach was more of a like, we're just here to have fun, and I wasn't. I was the one who took my whole team on my back, and I became their coach, because I wanted them to, yes, love the sport and love what they were doing. But I feel like we lost a lot. And so I felt like that really took away from them wanting to actually learn the sport. So it was a big step on me to, one, learn patience, and to take my time, and not, get frustrated, because like I said, on the mound controlling things, I can only control so much. And I can't hit to win the game. I can't girls can hit in high school, so I can't pitch. I can't just blow the ball past them. And at that age, I wasn't much of a practice player, so I was more of like, I don't feel like practicing. I don't want to do it. I just want to play the game. And that affected my team a lot, because there's like, well, I mean, you're not doing much. So it's like, why do I want to? And then I'm like, I've had to really step back and look at myself like, well, you're right. You know, you want to lead, you have to lead by example as much as you're leading by, coaching. So I feel like the biggest transition was definitely the skill set between my other teammates, and how to really teach the game to them, me still at that age playing the game with them and being,
Okay.
I would consider myself still immature at the time.
Got you. So it's good that even in high school, you had the opportunity to kind of just to learn the parts of being a leader, and having that pressure on you. Now, you said it was very tough, I'm sure, going through the losing process and things like that. But I'll ask you, was there ever a point where you even maybe questioned, hey, I'm done with this sport? Like, was there ever a point that you lost the love for the sport going through that
I don't
time?
think so. I think the more of that stuff came from the car rides home with my dad, and he's just, eating at me, and I'm just like, well, do you go out there and do it? Like, you tell me how easy it is, kind of stuff. And I guess that's where I got the most frustrated, because he expected a lot out of me, and at the time I was just like, relax. And I think that's sometimes, being pressured to go out and practice or go out and do things when I sometimes didn't really want to. It was just like, the sport is not like it's not like a sport how it was, when I first started playing. It's a job. And I was like, do I really want another job right now? And
Gotcha.
but my love never really left, because of I don't know. I just love the sport so much. I love my teammates. I loved every aspect of it. I love to hit, all that stuff. So I never really lost the love for the sport, but there were those times where I was just like, I'm tired. I can't.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. So you're currently playing in college, and I know I may have asked the question already, but we didn't quite answer the transition into college. But I want to talk about the process of going to college. At what point did you recognize in high school that, hey, I'm gonna have an opportunity to play on yet another level? At what point did you start getting some recognition and maybe some interest from schools?
It would probably be my junior and senior year, mostly my senior year in travel ball. I had the same travel coach my entire travel ball career. Every team she went to, I followed her. And she was probably the hardest on me to reach out to schools. And at the time I started late, but at the time I was like, I want to play at UCLA, I want to play at Florida. And she had to like sit me down and say like, they kind of recruit their players in 7th grade. So you're kind of like way past that. I'm just like, okay. So I started to do a few camps. I went to a Binghamton camp. I went to a Rutgers camp, and they like showed interest, but it never went, like, we never went forward towards anything else. And then I got an email from my coach here, Coach K, and I got on the phone with her, and she wasn't one of those coaches that you could tell she had a passion for the sport. She told me like, I'm utility, I could do anything. And she just overall, she saw a lot of improvement in me. And that's what really made me pick this school. But even other schools in the MEAC, that's our conference, there were I went on a visit to Morgan State, and they showed interest in me too. But I don't know, I didn't feel the same love for the sport as I did for my other coaches. But that's really junior and senior year was really when I got that interest. A school's interested in me, because that's where because of the team, I was on PA Chaos at the time, and it was a big organization. They sent girls to Oregon, to Auburn, things like that. So we had a lot of college coaches sitting not in the dugout, but behind the backstop watching us play.
That's awesome. So for those that didn't catch it earlier, Ameenah is at University of Maryland, Eastern Shore, correct?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So what has the experience been like since you've been there?
A roller coaster. My freshman year was COVID, so we didn't play. My college made that decision in the fall before the spring even came. And it was hard because, again, it was a bunch of practice for the whole year and it was a lot. And I guess the biggest transition even was my coach telling me that we were a running team. And so I have been conditioning a lot more than I thought I would be doing. We have this conditioning test. It's called the Dirty Dozens, and it's like a 60-foot sprint back and forth. Pitchers and some infielders have to do it in a minute and 5. You have to do it 12 times back and forth, and then you get a minute break, and then you do 12 of them. It's 12 sets of 12 sprints. Yeah. So yeah, it is a lot. But
I'm tired right now. Listen.
Don't get me started. But yeah, otherwise transitioning wise, besides that, mentally it has been a lot because school, I didn't realize how much freedom I was actually getting. Like I knew, in elementary school, K through 12, all that, you're in school from 7 to 2, and then you're out of school, and that's when you do your homework and stuff, but you have all this time on your hands. There could be like in semesters, there was times where I had a 50-minute, I only had to go to school for 50 minutes a day, and it was like, what else do I do with my time? And I'm big on putting a lot on my plate. Like I recently started a podcast with one of my teammates, Mackenzie, about mental health in this sport, because I feel like it hasn't been talked about, at least towards softball enough. And so I put stuff on my plate. I like to make clothes. Like I just add so much onto my plate that it can get stressful here, but I've been doing well in the transitioning wise. This year has probably been my best year as a leader and mentally. And I've really, as we had our first season, it was a lot on us because, you had those times where like, well, why is she playing, or why am I not playing, or how do I get playing time? And then there were those upset games. There was our roster only consisted of 15 girls. And if you have 9 girls on the field, but 15 girls in 56 games is a lot on a person. Right. And so when it came time for postseason, I at the time was injured. I had a high ankle sprain. Okay. And I couldn't play, and I just was watching my team already tired, struggling. And it was like, I wish I could help in some way. So it was a lot. I took a ball to the face. Wow. I took a line drive right back to my eye. I was out, but yeah, it's just more, you need to have your time management together and, know what you want to do before that time comes to do it. In anything, whether it's homework, school, all that stuff. It's really important to have time management, because I feel like that's what takes all the stress away. You get your schedule ahead of time and all that, but it really is like, what do you plan to do with yourself, before you do it? Because you'll have those days where you don't do anything and yeah, stuff like that. But I could go on and on.
No, that's good. Great information. And so, and hearing that, let's touch on, I want you to take a quick minute. Those watching this episode, let them know the podcast so they can check it out. Cause I believe mental health is important. Like my show just doesn't consist of talking to athletes and just only talking about, the academics and the sport end of it. But we've had a financial specialist on the show. We've had a psychologist on the show out of the DC area. We've had a awesome guest out of the Missouri area that is a performance coach. And so I believe there's so many aspects to our life. So you touched on it. Your show touches on mental health. So let everybody know what's the name of your podcast so they can check it out.
The podcast is called the Ameenah Podcast. Inside the Minds of Female Athletes. Our Instagram is Me and Mackenzie Podcast. But yeah, you can listen to it. We're trying to get it so we can, do it on YouTube too. But right now you can listen to it on Spotify and SoundCloud.
That's awesome. So please, those watching, please check it out because I always cover it. Like there's so many different aspects to our lives. It's beyond just being a great athlete on the sport. I think the awesome thing that the guests I referred to from the Missouri area has to show like the mental part is so much more important. Like if your mental isn't straight, it's going to affect your performance all day. So it's good that you're touching on that. And so what are the goals for the upcoming 2023 season when it comes to softball?
I've already my last season I didn't hit as much, so this year a goal for mine is to definitely be a hitter that my team is depending on, as well as there's only 2 pitchers on our team, including me. So I'm taking on. My goal is to be healthy, as well as I want to be pitcher of the year for in the MEAC conference. So I'm really focusing on making sure I'm keeping my arm healthy, focusing on hitting and things like that nature, but definitely, pitching and spins because I'm not a tall girl. So I'm only 5'4". So the speed doesn't come as easily as it does for others, but I've learned to, forget about the speed and focus on the spin. And that's what I'm really hoping to do. That's my goal for next season, is to be a productive pitcher through my
All right, cool. I want to ask, like, outside of sports in school, what are some things Ameenah do for fun?
I like to crochet. I like graphic designing and stuff like that. I make a lot of t-shirts and things. My mom runs her own clothing. She has her own clothing business. We're Muslim, so she makes all the garments and things like that, the scarves, all that stuff. And then she bought an embroidery machine and a vinyl thing, so I play with that all the time. I don't know. There's not much that I don't like to do. I've recently found a love for cooking. I've been cooking a lot, and then I just started this podcast. So most of my attention is everywhere, but I've recently honed down on doing the podcast.
That's good. That's good to just hear that you have other things that you like doing, that keeps you well-rounded. I will ask, what's currently your major in school?
Kinesiology, exercise science.
Okay. All right. And so I know it's pretty early on, but have you already, and I won't say it's early on, have you set some goals for what you would like to do outside of the sport?
Yes. So I want to become a coach. Not sure if I just want to do, travel, whatever level yet, but I'm interested in being a coach, softball coach, a pitching instructor. I'm going to use my major to be an athletic trainer. And then my end goal is to open up a big softball academy in my area where there's not many girls like me playing softball. So I just want to give them those opportunities that are given to other girls and really open that up to them. So that's probably my biggest goal out of all of them, is to open up a softball academy.
All right. And one of the other things, you kind of cover everything, as searching the social media and kind of caught a whiff of everything that you were doing. You touched on already, aspiring to be a coach, your love in regards to mental health. But touch on 2 other areas. Like you had also being a life coach as well as a voice for student athletes. Like, what is it behind those 2 things that really drive you in helping other people?
So through my life, it's been up and down, as it has for other people, but it's really how do you learn how to take those and not let it push you back steps. Like, how do you add it into that pile of things that motivate you, that fuels your fire? So I'm really interested in teaching others ways of coping through, let's say you took a loss and your season is right around the corner. Like, how do you mentally prepare yourself for that? How do you get yourself to get out of bed? Because, I lost my dad, at that above 16. So it was hard for me to, the season I was playing at the time. So it was just like, how do I get myself up to do everything else that I need to do? And then the mental health coach, I'm really interested in that because I've had a rough time mentally through softball because of it was a hard time to really for me to really grow up and like get over that hump of, being so lazy, to be honest. Like
Okay.
I didn't want to go out and do extra is, the most important thing you can do in the college level, because my dad used to say it all. My stepdad used to say it all the time. Like, you're sitting here watching TV. Well, there's a girl outside hitting on a tee, and I'm sure that you're going to see her one day and she's going to hit off you and you're going to wonder why. And this is why, because you're not outside, pitching, and she's already learning how to hit the pitches you're throwing. So what are you going to do to prepare for that? And I took it, I was just like, he's just talking. But like now going back and listening to and like rethinking about him telling me that, it's like, what am I going to do? Like, I'm not, because I know if she comes and she hits off me, like I'm going to be mad. So what am I really going to do? And that's when I really started to take things seriously, just in general in life, wasting your time doing things, yes, it's okay to sit down and relax, watch TV, but it's like the world is moving, everything's changing every day. What do you want to do to, stay up, basically? Like
Okay.
how do you what do you plan to leave behind when you're gone, kind of thing? I want to leave something behind. I want people to remember me in a positive way, especially in a way that helps them. Like I want people, when I was doing my first episode on my podcast, reasons why did I even start this podcast? The first thing I said is I want girls to listen to this and be like, wow, I thought I was the only one going through this, but I'm
Right.
not. So that's where I give that advice of how to cope with it, kind of thing.
That's good. That's good. It's awesome what you're doing, Ameenah. It's just awesome always to see young people that not only have a heart for doing well themselves, but you're already at a young age thinking about how you can help others. And I think it's so important that athletes understand. I will repeat it to the end, like our platforms. I understand my platform isn't about me. You understand your platform isn't about you, but it's about what you've been able to overcome and learn now help somebody else get over that same bridge.
Yeah, and I definitely get it through. I have a big family. I'm one of 4 sisters. I got stepsisters. I got older sisters. I have one younger brother, but my sister plays softball, and she's 11, 12. She already loves the sport so much. She's already pitching. So it's like, I want to be the best role model for her. And I know I can be the best role model for her by doing the best now, but I can leave that. Why not? Why just give that advice to her? Why not give it to everyone else?
That's good. I think it's so awesome. I'm just wishing and hoping you the best as you continue on in your career. I want to ask you, you say you went through that stage of the laziness and really having a hard time working hard. So what is it that Ameenah does now during the off season to prepare for the next season?
So my organization, my old travel organization, is always opening to, alumni coming back and practicing with them. So I always go practice. I'm starting to run a lot. I take my sisters on runs. We do exercises. I always go see my pitching coach, get her advice, because we currently don't have a pitching coach, and my head coach, she's great at telling us what to do. All she does is watch videos, learning how to pitch to teach us. But, getting back to someone who, has pitched themselves. So on the off season, I'm really focusing on being ready to last for 56 games of 7 innings. And, I'm going to be tired, but not be tired. I'm really trying to focus on staying conditioned.
Gotcha. And what is it Ameenah is doing today? Advice you can give to the young student athlete when it comes to balancing? Like, what are some of the little things you use in keeping a balance and making sure you keep a focus on keeping your academics first? What are some things you do as far as balancing your academics as well as with your athletics?
My advice is to, when it comes to academics, if you know you're having a rough time with it, never be afraid to ask for help. Whether it's, in college, the first thing we did is we made a bunch of study group chats, and I was lucky enough to have a few teammates that have the same major as me, so we're taking the same exact classes. But it's always, to have someone else, because when you're studying, me personally, there's a million different ways to study, but me personally, I have to keep talking about it. That's how you get that memory. So me and my teammate at practice, we're talking about our muscles and all that stuff, because that's our major. So, find someone to talk about it. Don't be afraid to tell your teacher, like, hey, I need some more time on this. When are you available? Because that's one, they know you're passionate about that. And when the time comes for that grade to get bumped from that 89.9 to the 90, they'll feel more pressure to do it, because you've been showing that you want that grade. You've been working for it. So don't be afraid to work for something that is coming hard to you. I would also advise you to, when it comes to like, you want a social life outside of your sport, it can be hard to find that at the Division I level, but I would advise you to, write down your goals, or, a list of things that you love, and find time to do those, because when you don't give yourself time to do those things, that's when everything else feels like a job, and like you feel like you're going through the motions. And that's where I get like the crocheting. Like, yes, I watch TV making stuff, because that's what relaxes me and gets me ready to go the next day to do everything else. But it's definitely find the stuff you love, especially in that sport. What's going to keep you going if the coach is bad? What's going to keep you going if your teammates are bad? What's going to keep you going if, just what is the reason you love this sport? And always remember that, sometimes I write stuff on my glove, because the game in the moment can get stressful, and all I have to do is look down and say, like, okay, this is what you're doing and this is why you're doing it. So relax and keep doing it.
All right, that's awesome. We're about to wrap things up. We can probably talk for the next hour. You've been given such great information. But I want to ask, before we get to the last two questions, what could you say to the young student athlete who may be in middle school, going into high school or whatever, either one of those grade levels, and just focusing on just trying to be the best and go to the next level while having to face the everyday obstacles of life?
Create a schedule. I feel like that's probably the best advice I could give, is to create a schedule. Find times to go do that sport you love on your own. I think it's important to practice on your own sometimes. I like to hit by myself, because I personally like to talk out loud. So I like to talk myself through the motions and through everything I'm doing. And when you give yourself that time, it's like a little bit of therapy session. I mean, high school, middle school, it's a lot of, social life that you're looking to have. But I feel like especially in high school, try your hardest, that it's really early, but try your hardest to look into your future and see what it is that you're really passionate in, and start as early as possible. It's the same as when, some girls start playing softball at 5 years old compared to, me at 10. Like, find out what at least three things you're interested in, and find a way to do something in relation to that every day.
All right. So with being able to play, I know you kind of said you were looking at the UCLAs and the Floridas early, but you were blessed to still end up at a Division I school, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So being at University of Maryland Eastern Shore, was it at any point, whether it was traveling ball or even as you realized where you were heading to as far as college, that you had to find a way to kind of maybe ground yourself or humble yourself, because maybe you were getting a little prideful in how good you were doing?
In college, I would say that I didn't have to humble myself, because I knew there were going to be other girls better than me. And I got that from playing for PA Chaos, and there was a lot of girls better than me, even younger than me, that were better than me. And I think that's where at that time I had to humble myself, because I knew that I was more of a gamer and not a practice player. So to see these girls taking practice seriously, I was I was just like, wow, like I need to calm down, and actually focus in on not just going into games and trying, to be the best then, but prepare prior to that. And I think I learned that through there was one game and there was one weekend and I didn't pitch at all. And I was just like, why did I not pitch? And my coach was telling me, like, in the fall, these girls were doing stuff. They were working out, they were pitching. You were doing nothing. And it showed through your pitching that you weren't doing anything. So that's when it really opened my eyes. And I was just like, wow, like, you need to take yourself down, because you're not as you're good. Yes, you're good, but you're not as good as you could be. So don't really, talk so highly when you could be better.
That's good. That's great information. So many young athletes don't recognize how much better they can be. Like, they may recognize where they're at. Some of them become content and satisfied, but the truth is they can be so much better and have so much more potential, if you just touched on it, if they would just simply take the time to put the work in. So I thank you for that information. We're going to kind of wrap up in our last couple of questions we always ask. How important is it to keep positive people in your circle?
It is the most important thing ever. I think that even if you keep I feel like a negative person is, just like a parasite. Like, they may not get to you, but if there's a circle, there's 5 of you, they're going to get to one of them, then that one's going to get to the rest. And eventually it's going to come to you. You hear the same bad thing over and over again. Like, I hate practice. I hate this practice. Eventually it's going to be in your mind. Like, you may not feel that way, but you're hearing that over time. It's so negative. It's something I learned actually this year, because over the break, I don't know, I guess I really grew up, and I was just like, I really can't take, the negativity, especially since I'm already so hard on myself. I feel like that's enough negativity for me. Like, I don't need any more. So I really don't talk to many people anymore, besides, those that have things going for themselves, my teammates, or those who are always there to motivate me and always have my back. I always keep those people, but my circle is really small.
That's good. That's good. And so you pulled me in, Ameenah, to one more question before our last question.
No, you're
because
good.
So many young people have a problem with maturing and, shrinking their circle, or getting rid of people that shouldn't be around them when they're trying to do good things, like whether it's school or achieve high levels in a certain sport. So I asked you, did you, or I guess I'll ask the question straight up. Did you have to deal with the negative backlash of some people that you may have had to pull yourself away from? Did you deal with any negative backlash?
Not really, because I feel like me just saying, like, most of it were my friends that didn't play softball, or people they knew I played a sport. So if they were more of like, oh, it's not that she doesn't like me, it's just that she has a lot going on. And I just let them take it that way, because, I wasn't going to say, you're such a negative person, I can't deal with you anymore, because I'm not a mean person. So, like, if they were to text me right now or call me or anything, I'm always going to be there for someone. So it was more of a like, hey, I have a lot on my plate, I can't really hang out with you. Like, I barely talk to my best friend right now. We talk like every 5 months, but she's one of those people that I know always will support me. So
that's good.
I always have those people who support me, but I didn't get any backlash, because people were just like, oh, she's playing Division I softball. Like, I'm sure she can't talk to me right now.
That's good.
And it was the reality.
And that's good to have. And that's when you have real friends, because they understand what you're trying to accomplish.
Yeah.
And so a real friend can say, hey, we can't talk for a few months or a couple weeks, but I understand this is my friend. And if she called me today, I'm going to be there for her.
Exactly.
And that's what young people have to understand. That is when you recognize the characteristics of true friends, people that understand that.
It's even hard, like, telling my 13-year-old sister I can't talk to her every day. She calls me all the time. She's like, you never talk to me anymore. And I'm just like, it's not that I don't want to talk to you. No, I know for a fact I'm going to see you soon. So I'm not like pressing to talk to you. You can tell me your whole story when I get home, but I have a lot to do and I have a lot to get done. And she understands that.
That's good. That's good. And I'm sure that information will definitely be helpful to someone. But the last question we always ask, who or what is it that inspires you in life?
I think what inspires me in life is to live a life where I don't feel like everything is a job. And I think that's what really put me towards softball, because of how much passion I have for it and how much love I already have for it. You know, why not keep doing it? And because there are careers around it, and like the mental health part of it, you know, I could be a public speaker kind of stuff. Like I'm really big on softball has taught me to be really big on giving back, because so many people gave everything for me to be where I am today. So I just feel like I owe it to all of them.
That's good. Well, we thank you, Ameenah, for joining us today. It's truly been an awesome opportunity to be able to speak with you and the information that you've provided. Those that's watching, you know, I always say every show, it is good to be great in the sport that you're playing, but it's even better to be great in life. So I hope that you've listened to the information that we've received today, and that you'll just take that, like every show I always say, you can hear it all day, but if you don't apply it, it's not doing anything for you. So I hope that you'll be intentional in the awesome information that's been provided today. So thanks again for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
And you all know, I say it every time, keep putting in the work, keep applying this awesome information, and we'll see you next episode. Keep joining us as we go out and up.